Presented by Church Tech U, it's the ProPresenter Show. On today's show, how to understand ProPresenter 7's numbering. Hi, and welcome again to the ProPresenter Show. This is the show where I teach you all about ProPresenter, even the minutiae like numbering. My name's Alan Clifford. And before we get started, if you were thinking, hey, wait, we're on 7.9, that might mean we're about to hit 8. Or it's later and we're on 7.10 and you're utterly confused why that's different from 7.1, go ahead, give me a thumbs up, like and subscribe, etc. So software numbering and decimals are a little bit different. And that is causing all kinds of confusion amongst people when they're thinking, hey, this is ProPresenter 7.9. Does that mean ProPresenter 8 is next? No. And we'll talk about why as soon as we head over to my computer here. So here we are in ProPresenter 7.9. And right here, I have the Wikipedia page up for macOS. And you might be thinking, Paul, what does one have to do with another? Well, macOS 10 is the most notable example of how this works with ProPresenter. So I thought that we'd compare this. What you should know is Renewed Vision initially only released ProPresenter for the Mac, and then later on created a Windows version. So they're aware of this numbering scheme, and I think that that's the thinking, pure speculation on my part, by the way, but I think that that's the thinking for why there are multiple iterations of ProPresenter 7 instead of ProPresenter 8, ProPresenter 9, ProPresenter 10, and so on. So if you look at these, the first release version of ProPresenter, I'm used to saying ProPresenter, of macOS was macOS 10.0, Cheetah. 10.1 was Puma. 10.2 was Jaguar. 10.3, Panther. Notice they start actually using the name. And so on. Let's skip down here to Mavericks. 10.9. Well, next we have Yosemite 10.10. But wait, there actually already was a 10.1. So how is that different? Well, software numbering is not a decimal. It looks like a decimal, but it is not a decimal. So it's the case that the dots separate kind of revisions. So there was a 10.1.1, and there was also a 10.10.1. So that's what you need to know, is that the decimal is not a decimal, it's just a dot indicating the change of duration, change of version number. And this first number, you can really kind of ignore it and think of it as kind of a marketing term. Up until we get to Big Sur, in which case they said, okay, that's enough. We've had 15 of these bad boys. Now we're going to go to 11. So I suspect that Renewed Vision is going to do exactly the same thing. That someday, somewhere out in the future, maybe they will move on to ProPresenter 8, or maybe they'll skip numbers like Apple has done with the iPhone and Windows has done with Windows 10. There was no Windows 9. There was a Windows 7 and Windows 8, but no Windows 9. So whatever they're going to do, eventually they'll do that. But you shouldn't think that just because, as I'm recording this, we're on ProPresenter 7.9, that ProPresenter 8 is the next version. Don't hold your breath for ProPresenter 8. Also, don't think, oh, well, I haven't updated in a while, so I should wait until ProPresenter 8. No, that might be 10 years off in the future. We don't know. I mean, I'm sure that Renewed Vision has an idea, but ProPresenter 6 was a one and done, basically, feature set. ProPresenter 7 is now like macOS 10 was, where the number is just for marketing purposes. It doesn't have really anything to do with each revision. So since we're on ProPresenter 7.9, think about the fact that thus far, about once a quarter, they've released a new version. So ProPresenter 7.0 has a lot fewer features than ProPresenter 7.9. Usually there's at least one major feature, but quite often there are 2, 3, 4 major features with each point release. So just going by how many features were added with ProPresenter 3 to ProPresenter 4, ProPresenter 4 to ProPresenter 5, and ProPresenter 5 to ProPresenter 6, from a feature equivalency standpoint, we're probably on ProPresenter 9, quite frankly, by now, if they had kept with the same numbering scheme. So don't hold your breath for ProPresenter 8, and don't think, oh, these are just little minor things. No, we've had so many features added, so many bug fixes, which bug fixes were the only thing that they did with ProPresenter 6 and earlier once they decided, hey, it's feature complete. So keep that in mind and don't hold your breath for a big number update. This is just marketing. If you like this content, you'd probably like my ProPresenter 7 Quick Start course, so head on over to TDM.fyi/Pro7Quick. Put in your name and email address so I can make a login for you and give you my ProPresenter 7 Quick Start course for free instead of the $29 it normally sells for. Until next time, this is Paul Alan Clifford from TrinityDigitalMedia.com and ChurchTechU.com reminding you to go out and change eternity.